activity C gives you a flexibility of 2 months. This flexibility is called a float. So activity C has a float of 2 months. We can use this float in 2 ways. One, we can start activity C 2 days later. Okay, if this eases constraint on some critical resource. Now, what is activity C? Activity C was initiating dialogue with the dealer. In our case, that was activity C. Now, initiating dialogue with the dealer might require some amount of senior management involvement. Now, it's possible that at that particular time, senior management is tied up. The network analysis shows us that activity C, even if it starts 2 months later, right? Even if activity C starts 2 months later, it will not affect the time when the entire process is completed, which means senior management can get involved in that activity a little later in case they are tied up at that point in time. So this is one of the kinds of flexibility the analysis gives us. The other is that activity C need not be finished in 2 months. Activity C it has a float of 2 months, so activity C can be finished in a total of 4 months. Okay. Now, if it's finished in 4 months, it means it can be done at a lower cost. For instance, if you want letters to reach somebody in 1 day, you need to send it by courier. But if it is enough for a letter to reach that person after 4 days, you can send it by ordinary post, right? Which is much cheaper than sending it by courier. So, if you have flexibility, if you have float, then that same activity can be done at a slower pace, and therefore the cost incurred on that activity is reduced. So this is another information that network analysis gives us. It tells us how we can reschedule activities so that the project can be completed on time, but the cost of completion can be reduced, can be kept under control. This brings us to the final point in this particular session, and this is the issue of activity crashing. Now, what does that mean? Crashing an activity means completing the activity faster than was initially planned. Okay? Completing it faster than was initially planned. Now, let's go back to our situation. Now, we want to reach from 1 to 6. We found it takes 12 months, right? It takes 12 months because activities A, E and G, which are the critical activities, take a certain amount of time, and totally they take 12 months. So A, E, G is the path that determines how long the project is going to take. Now, suppose we decide that we will perform activity A little faster by putting in a little more resources. That's called crashing. We crash activity A, right? We crash activity A by putting in more resources and therefore do it faster. if we do activity A faster by 1 month, you will see that the project will get completed 1 month earlier. I suggest that you go back to the network and try this out. You reduce the time duration for activity A from 3 months to 2 months, okay, and you will find that the project can be completed in 11 months, not 12 months, right? So if you complete an activity on the critical path faster, it will reduce project time by that amount. The same thing applies to activity E as well as to activity G. I suggest you go back to the network and try and reduce activity A or activity E or activity G by 1 month or 2 months, right? And you will see that the project, that is, you are able to reach event 6, the end of the project, you are able to reach the end of the project that much faster. So reducing a critical activity by a certain time means reducing the project duration by that time. However, if you try doing this with let's say activity D, here again I suggest you go back to the network, reduce activity D by 1 month, or perhaps let's take activity F, right? Reduce activity F by 1 month, okay? Reduce activity F by 1 month and see whether you are able to reach 6 1 month earlier. You will find that there is no difference. You reach 6 only after 12 months. So it's only when you reduce activities on the critical path that you shorten the duration of the project. Right. So what we have done in this session is to apply the techniques of network analysis to strategy implementation and show you what is the kind of flexibility in strategy implementation that is brought in by using these techniques. Thank you.